Welcome to Rolf Bender's YouTube Shortwave radio channel.
Targeting humanitarian aid convoys heading to Gaza. The State Department said any act of sabotage against aid trucks wouldn't be tolerated. Southline is a right-wing activist group that seeks to increase pressure on Hamas to release hostages. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, says she's making good progress with her cancer treatment. She'll make her first public appearance in 6 months on Saturday. She said that chemotherapy would continue for a few more months. The United States government has offered an additional $350 million in assistance to Sudan. The crew of the Pre-Coast merchant ship that was attacked in the Red Sea by Yemen's Houthi movement have been evacuated. The Houthis claimed the vessel's owner had links to Israel. A U.S. judge has ordered the liquidation of the personal assets of the conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. He owes substantial damages to the families of the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting over his false claims it was a hoax. Indian officials have authorized the prosecution of the prize-winning author Arundhati Roy under anti-terror laws for a speech she gave in 2010 about Kashmir. She's a fierce critic of India's policy in Kashmir. In football, both Germany have beaten Scotland 5-1 in the opening match of the Euro 2024 Championship in Munich. BBC News. Welcome to the documentary from the BBC World Service. I'm Catherine Morris. The man you can hear praying is George Anton, a 43-year-old Palestinian. He's standing on the altar of the Holy Family Church, the only Roman Catholic parish in Gaza. George took refuge in the church compound in Gaza City 8 months ago, ignoring warnings to leave the north, leading a community of more than 500 people who stayed too. Together, they sheltered from the Israeli military action that came after the devastating killings and kidnappings by Hamas on October the 7th. George refused to leave because he's one of the last Christians of Gaza, and he's been telling his story to me. It's a story of faith and hope amidst destruction and loss.
If we have left the church, this church will be very much destroyed, and there will be no existence for the church anymore. You know, there is no rice, there is no wheat flour. I asked them, do you want to stay with me? And my wife and my children, they told me, either we go together or we die together. This is very important. We will face a very dangerous hunger. Our children will die, and the old people here will die. Everybody will die here. So please, help us.
It's a story I didn't set out to follow, but George's fate gripped me from the first text he ever sent on October the 10th, the day this news broke. The Israeli military has told the entire population in the north of the Gaza Strip to move for their own safety. More than 1 million Palestinians, including all those living in Gaza City, are affected. Israel has deployed tanks on Gaza's boundaries as it prepares for a possible ground offensive in response to Saturday's wave of killings and hostage-taking. Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Provitus is a spokesperson for the Israeli Defense Forces.
Civilians of Gaza City, evacuate now for your own safety and the safety of your family, and distance yourself from Hamas terrorists who are using you as human shields. The IDF will continue to operate with significant force.
I can still remember the intensity of watching these events unfold thousands of miles away in the UK. I couldn't begin to imagine what it would be like to be in the midst of it. On one side, you had grieving Israeli families and desperate calls for hostages to be returned. On the other, Palestinians being forced to leave their homes in fear of being caught up in the Israeli offensive against Hamas. I heard that aid agencies were withdrawing from the north of Gaza for safety. And as a journalist, I wanted an aid worker on the radio program I work on to give us a sense of what was happening. I got some numbers of possible guests. George Anton was one of them. He is the manager of Caritas in Gaza, the Catholic aid agency. I sent him a text, hoping he could give me an update. His reply to my request landed like a punch in the chest. I've never received a text like it. It came in the middle of a news meeting, and I struggled to read it out. It said, "I'm not sure if I will survive today. This might be my first and last message to you. Pray for me." I stayed in touch with George. That message locked me in to finding out his fate. I learned that his family was the first to move into the Holy Family Church. Their home had been damaged by war. Hundreds more followed them, and George became the lay head of the committee dedicated to keeping them safe.
We are in the Catholic.
I learned that George had 3 children around the same age as mine. We never spoke because phone and internet connections had been shut down. Instead, I sent a message and watch it, willing 2 blue ticks to appear. A few days later, maybe when I was on a bus or in the supermarket, just going about my normal life, I'd get a message back, a WhatsApp from a war zone, and it was always a relief to hear they were safe, especially when the ground invasion got underway at the end of October.
Really nice and very terrifying. Getting bombed everywhere, targeting Midwinter. We cannot see that at all. All the children are afraid, women are afraid, all people are afraid, and we are all awake to don't know where the next hit will be. So everybody feels unsafe, everybody feels targeted everywhere. You know, I don't know what you did with bombarding now. I'm talking to you and there's so many bombarding around. And the Israeli fighters, they throw pamphlets, they throw warnings, printed warnings to all the people in Gaza. And we are very afraid of the night. We don't know what will happen next. We have no connection of internet, we have no connection of mobile phones, of landlines, we have no networks at all. We are trying with some eSIMs or satellite phones, but hardly find a connection. I was very lucky to find a connection now. I'm talking to everybody. Please pray for us.
George didn't heed the warnings to move south, to leave Gaza City, believing it was safer to stick together in the Holy Family compound, the Roman Catholic Church. 10 minutes drive away, is St. Porphyrius, the Greek Orthodox Church. They're both part of a diminishing Christian community in Gaza, with fewer than 1,000 people left. And that's another reason George stayed. He feels a responsibility to keep Christianity alive in the area. Rhiannon's alone is from the charity Embrace the Middle East. Before the war, George took her on a tour of the Christian sites in the area.
The first place we visited was the Orthodox Church. It was a really, really hot day. We walked into the top level of the church and it was just really cool and really dark. We switched on the lights and there's just these beautiful, beautiful icons and murals all over the walls that tell the history of the church. It was just a really calm and peaceful space. It's just so old as well, and some of the columns date back to the original church, which was founded in 402 AD. The main area of the church is below ground level because it's so old that the ground level has risen as people have built. It just really struck me that the roots of the Christian community are that deep in Gaza. They're so rooted there. And then there's a cemetery at the back, which has got generations and generations of families that have just lived in that space and served and worshipped in that land for such a long time.
That church is thought to be the third oldest in the world. It was sheltering 200 Orthodox Christians when it was struck by an Israeli missile in October. 18 people were killed. The idea say unequivocally that the church wasn't the intended target and that Hamas is using civilians as human shields. Earlier that month, George had told me about the two churches and who was there.
Yes, actually, in the Catholic Church, there is only the Christian community members sheltering here, and also in the Orthodox Church. There are almost like 800 Christians sheltering in the two churches. We feel terrible, we feel scared, everybody like over. What we do is we try to encourage people and send them the exact situation, ask them to pray, and they are trusted that Jesus Christ will never leave us alone.
On December the 16th, 2 women were killed by sniper fire as they crossed the courtyard of the Holy Family Church. The Latin Patriarchate, in charge of Roman Catholics in the area, said they'd been killed in cold blood and no warning was given. They said 7 more were shot and wounded as they tried to protect others. The IDF say they're still reviewing what happened and that they take strikes on sensitive sites very seriously, especially churches that are holy sites for the Christian faith. I later learned that the women who died were George's cousin Tamar and her mother, his auntie Nehia. I didn't hear anything from him for a month. The next thing I saw after Christmas were pictures from the Holy Family Church that gave some hope. A group of smiling young children dressed in white for their first communion. A picture of a baby being baptized. Moments of celebration in the lives of this community. I found the parish on social media and could see videos of the congregation celebrating daily mass. I could see George, dressed in the vestments of an altar server, reading from the lectern, taking a leading role in the spiritual life of the church. They'd run out of communion wafers, but had learned to make their own with what looked in pictures like a big circular hot iron. And this bit of DIY allowed them to continue their daily ritual.
Dear Catherine, this is one of the grace of the Lord that we could make communion wafers here in Devastation, actually. As you know, we need to celebrate the Mass. Mass is our life, you know. And the Mass is the real presence of Jesus Christ through the Holy Eucharist. So if we are able to celebrate the Mass, that means we are still alive. And this is our faith. more and more strength, and they say war.
You're listening to the